know you're very busy now.
We are a little rushed today.
But this is terribly important to me. You see, I did try to talk to Miss Freeman. I really did, but she's so busy, and yet I know that I can help the children and that they can help me. So I do hope that you'll make allowances for a little stiffness in the hand. Perhaps if I made an appointment to see you.
Well, what if we call you in a day or so?
Oh, would you do that? That would be very kind.
Not at all.
Goodbye, Mr. DeVere. I look forward to seeing you.
Goodbye.
This is Talkback. Our drama for this program is called The Volunteer. Our guest is Dr. Dale White, Director of Program, Division of Temperance and General Welfare, General Board of Christian Social Concerns of the Methodist Church. Later, Mr. Merle Emery and Dr. Ross Snyder will be asking Dr. White questions raised by our play.
Naturally, we all want to see you very much. The children ask constantly when Granny Ruth is coming for a visit. Laura suggests at least a 2-week visit. Laura also feels that it would be a mistake for you to give up your apartment because it is so cheerful, and you would have a difficult time finding one as nice in our neighborhood here in Dallas. Of course they love you. They just don't want you there. You'd be in the way. Well, it's not the end of the world, my dear. It's nothing to shed tears over. Just means you're not good for anything. Or anybody. Face it, my dear. Now that's enough. That's just about enough. Well, now, let's see what we have. Mrs. Wagner, this is the season of the year when important work is being done at the Helen Hope Nursery and Day School by volunteer workers of all ages and backgrounds. As a member of the Helen Hope League, we know that your deep interest in the welfare of the children will prompt you to contribute your skills.
A letter this morning from Mr. DeVere asking for volunteers.
Oh, that'll be Miss Freeman's office. Second door to your left.
You see, I used to teach just around the corner at Thomas Jefferson. Of course, that was several years ago.
I believe the person you want to see is Miss Freeman, just down the hall, room 2.
Well, thank you. so nice to be here.
We're just never going to get everything out in time.
Oh, now, Helen, I think we're doing very well. The fund drive is off to a good start. And I'm on the trail of 2 new teachers. One doesn't sound half bad. Which reminds me, may I use your phone?
Of course. Mr. DeVere, I don't think you understand.
She's retired, but she comes well recommended. Helen, I understand one thing. We've owed you a vacation for over 3 months now. I think you ought to take it while you can.
I wish I could.
Why don't you?
But, Mr. DeVere, the patron's reception isn't half organized.
Oh, forget the reception.
And we still haven't heard about the tire room for the dinner, and then the invitations, and then the mailing pieces.
I thought they were back from the printer.
Just 3,000 of them. And half of them are the wrong color. I just can't seem to make that man understand we don't look good in green.
She's not there. Helen, look. I'll make a deal with you. I'll take care of the printer. You get the first 1,500 mailings out, and then take off for a long weekend, okay? Now, what's left to do before they're dispatched? Addressograph plates? Volunteers?
We'll have volunteers here this morning to stuff the envelopes.
Well, then there's no problem.
That's easy to say, Mr. DeVere, but you know what happens. They're very sweet, but some of them are so undependable. I sent out 200 letters over your signature, and we'll be lucky if we have 5 women here this afternoon. They're never here when you want them, and some of them come up with such brainstorms. I remember once last month...
Now, Helen, I know what you mean. But remember, their interests are a little different from ours. It's up to us to make these people feel that what they're doing here is worthwhile. As for the rest, well, just don't let them get on your nerves. And relax.
Mr. DeVere,
Oh, hello there.
I just wanted to thank you for thinking of me. I'm looking forward to working with children again.
Well, I'm happy we can be of service to each other. Miss Freeman will take good care of you.
Yes, I received a letter.
Ah, volunteer. Well, how nice of you to come on such short notice. Now, let's see. You are,
Mrs. Wagner.
oh, yes. Do we have a card on you?
Well, I don't believe so.
Oh, well, you can get one from the receptionist on your way out. All right? Fine. Now, let's go right downstairs and get you started. Some of the others are already there. It's very simple, just folding, stuffing, stamping.
Excuse me.
Yes?
Well, I thought that...
Yes?
Well, naturally, I'm here to help in any way I can, but I thought from Mr. DeVere's letter that he was interested in my skills.
Oh, well, we certainly are interested. You see, right now we're in the midst of planning an expansion of our day school, and that means more teachers, and that means more money. So while it may not seem important, the work you do here in helping us get our appeal is very important.
Oh, I'm sure it is, but I do have certain qualifications.
But we do have to get the money first, don't we? You'll find this fun, Mrs. Wagner.
And we could hardly wait for her to come home from nursery school on her first day. And when she came home, she said, I love everything about nursery school except the other children.
Oh, she did. Yes, she did.
Oh, these children. Whatever did our generation do to deserve such offspring?
Miss Wagner, do you have any children? I have a boy in Dallas. I have a cousin in Dallas.
Virginia Vincent Murphy. You've probably heard of her.
Is she your cousin?
I didn't know she was your cousin.
My great-uncle's daughter.
Well, I don't think that makes her your cousin, doesn't it?
No, that makes her your,
Cousin once removed.
Isn't that right, Miss Wagner? They want me to come and live with them. They're most anxious to have me, especially his wife.
Well, that's interesting.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Oh, don't rise.
No, I'm all right. I'm sorry. What have I done? We'll never finish.
She can't help it. It's her hands. Think nothing of it, Miss Wagner. Come on, Jane. Don't worry, Mrs. Wagner.
We'll never finish.
Mrs. Wagner, I was just wondering, well, of course, it's none of my business, but why are you doing this kind of work?
Well, when I came down, I thought... You see, at one time I was a teacher, and I thought they might need someone like me to work with the children.
Well, don't they? I thought that was what all this fundraising was about. Have you told them?
Well, I'm not sure.
Well, you should. Just checking up, girl.
Oh, my. It was all my fault. I just couldn't.
Why, the whole job is sorting all over again.
Miss Freeman.
May I speak to you for a moment? Let's just do one thing at a time. Shall we?
Yes, I understand. But I have the order right here before me. And it says specifically, blue stock. No, what we received is not blue, it is green. Yes, I know the difference. All right, you check your file.
Board meeting.
5 minutes.
Oh, and Mr. DeVere, that number, I tried it several times. There's no answer. Are you sure it's the right number?
Well, try looking it up, will you? The name is Ruth Waggoner. Waggoner. I'm sure she's the only one in the book. The only one who's an ex-teacher, anyway. I really must talk to her.
I'll try again.
You have the order? Well, what does it say? It says blue. All right. Now, can you get them here tomorrow? We're quite rushed. Fine. Thank you.
Mr. DeVere, may I speak to you?
Of course, come in.
I want to volunteer to help teach the children.
Well, that's fine. Miss Freeman takes care of the volunteer workers.
I have spoken to Miss Freeman, and I've also worked all afternoon stuffing envelopes, but that's not really what I want to do.
I understand.
I've been told that you need teachers with experience in working with children.
I understand.
Well, I know that I have a slight handicap. My hands, you see.
What?
My hands, they tend to be a little stiff now and then. Actually, I can do most things. It's just that stuffing envelopes at top speed is a little out of my line.
Oh. Yes, of course. We certainly appreciate your coming down and helping us as much as you were able. Very kind of you.
But that's what I want to talk to you about. I know I can help in other ways. You see, I have a great deal of spare time these days. Too much, if the truth were known, and you see, I want to keep active if I can. A person hates to feel useless. Well, I know you're very busy now.
We are a little rushed today.
But this is terribly important to me. You see, I did try to talk to Miss Freeman. I really did, but she's so busy, and yet I know that I can help the children and that they can help me. So I do hope that you'll make allowances for a little stiffness in the hand. Perhaps if I made an appointment to see you.
Well, what if we call you in a day or so?
Oh, would you do that? That would be very kind.
Not at all.
Goodbye, Mr. DeVere. I look forward to seeing you.
Goodbye.
Mr. DeVere, how are you going to call me if you don't know who I am?
We know who you are.
Who am I?
Well, we have your name on your card.
I didn't make out a card.
Well, you can get one at the receptionist on your way out.
You're not really going to call me at all, are you?
Well, I'll explain the whole matter to Miss Freeman. And I'm sure that the first chance she gets, she'll be in contact with you. And now, if you'll excuse me,
Mrs. Wagner.
Have you made out one of our cards?
Thank you. I don't think that will be necessary.
I hope we see you soon again. Board meeting, Mr. DeVere.
have this sort of an impression. At the end of this, Mr. DeVere almost had his eyes opened.
Yes, he almost did.
Why do people of an institution choose to be busy, 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 busy?
This is an interesting question, and I think persons who work in service-related institutions need constantly to become aware of themselves and their motivations, the reasons why they react to people the way they do. Why are they so busy, for one thing? This sometimes, if a person takes enough time to analyze himself, he may find a revelation. He may discover, first of all, that he is busy not because of the real demands of the work, but because of a compulsion to busyness.
I must confess I have difficulty being sympathetic with Helen. I think she's going to live all her life and never discover what life is about.
I'm not so concerned about Helen at this point as I'm concerned about Mr. DeVere at this point. Now, I think that sometimes this busyness relates to a need for a childish omnipotence or a need to be in absolute control. You see this especially with the housewife who follows and flies into a panic when someone tracks up her neatly cleaned floor. Dr. Kurt Goldstein has done a lot of research upon the reasons for this. When we feel that we cannot really control the situation, then we have a compulsive need for order. Sometimes the impulse to be a big businessman. Mr. DeVere had these impulses very definitely, didn't he? The need to be a top administrator relates to really a childish need to be in such absolute control that you're not thrown in a panic by the presence of the ambiguous or the unfinished or the unexpected. It's not a sign of strength, it's a sign of weakness.
Well, gentlemen, I'm not only concerned about Mr. DeVere, but I have a feeling the entire personnel of this agency needs about as much help as the volunteer. But this does point up our responsibility, I feel. Do we not have a responsibility when we see a need of acceptance in a person to try to help them?
Yes, I feel so very definitely. I believe the place to begin would be to understand the deep nature of the hurt which is involved here. When a person is rejected, this person really is feeling deep humiliation, which is the most serious spiritual hurt. To expect acceptance and to expose oneself and then to be rejected, this is really a type of contempt, and the person is deeply hurt. We could illustrate it perhaps very definitely with the child who has worked a long time on a little gift. And he really has exposed himself as a little bit of uniqueness here, which he wants to share with someone, and he takes it to his father, and his father said, "Don't bother me with that thing." And then the child just withers up like a flower which has been turned under a terrific heat. The hurt is very, very great. And I wonder whether life isn't too short for us to be hurting each other. I feel we should be deeply sensitive to the hurts of other people.
Well, I get an impression that, somehow or other, many people have an image of an older woman as being a certain kind of person and hardly worth paying attention to. And instead of being able to see this volunteer as she really was, I thought in all her dignity, and it was a good kind of dignity, this image, an old woman's here, rose up and prevented them from really seeing her as she really was. I don't think they could even see the hurt in her. Does this check with your feeling?
This checks very definitely with my feeling, and I wonder whether our culture doesn't bother us at this point. Mm-hmm. As Dr. Fromm says, we are most interested in marketable qualities, and we relate to each other in terms of acceptability in a marketing sense. Therefore, we're interested in prettiness or in external beauty. Yeah. We're interested in competitiveness in the business world. Then we see an older person, and we do not bother really to relate to the deep, sensitive spirit which is beneath. Now, this requires commitment. Sometimes it is spoken of as commitment to listen. I had to discover this in my own pastorate.
Well, I'd be interested in hearing how that came about, because maybe it could happen to some other people then.
Well, perhaps I am exposing myself at this point, but I'm willing to do so because I believe that my own experience illustrates the way in which we should become sensitive to ourselves. I suddenly woke up after about 3 years in the pastorate to the realization that I was not relating to elderly people as persons. I was avoiding visiting them. I was thinking of persons more in terms of my need to get the administrative job done. This can plague the ministry as surely as it can plague any other busy profession. I began to feel that I should take stock of myself, and I very definitely recommend this as a simple little pattern.
How did you get started to begin to feel that you needed to take stock of yourself?
I first began to notice my reticence even to visit elderly persons. I did so because it was a duty.
Yeah.
But then late at night I would begin to think over the day's events. What did I do here? And did I hurt this person? Or was I indifferent to this person? Did I really relate to this person as a person? Then gradually developing the commitment to listen, to sense the deeper aspects of this person. An interesting thing happens when we're working with elderly people. If we listen long enough to see them, there is a deep dignity, a drama, a beauty, what Dr. May calls the beauty of sincerity, the beauty of suffering and of meeting this suffering, the beauty of experience, the beauty of a great soul beneath the surface. Once one catches a picture of this beauty and listens and waits long enough and relates sufficiently enough, it is something which really changes his own life. And I am very grateful to the elderly people in the churches that I have served for their ministry to me. Again and again I have discovered this. On a hospital bed, perhaps the last few hours of life, I come away with a deeply inspired sense of the dignity and worth of the human spirit.
Gentlemen, we are not saying, however, that a need for acceptance is felt only in the aged.
No, this should be definitely brought out. It is an interesting thing that we are most vulnerable to humiliation at this point when we are under conditions of most rapid change, so that the adolescent becomes very shy and withdrawn very often. He is undergoing a lot of change and he cannot keep up with himself. In fact, he doesn't know who he is. He tries to react to life as an adult, and then suddenly he's treated as a child, and then he's humiliated.
There's real problems of all of us being willing to listen to adolescents, too, then.
Very much so.
But in our society now, we are beginning to work on this problem of old age, aren't we? I'd like to put a specific kind of a question to you. Mrs. Wagner, the volunteer, had hoped to live in the same community as her grandchildren and her son. And as you have described the kind of sincerity and suffering and dignity that's in old people, I would crave very much that children could have a chance to see this in old people and not just other beautiful people. What do we do about grandmothers and grandfathers then? Should we say, stay away, don't get in the same community?
A lot of serious thought is going to this now. In the Division of Temperance and General Welfare of the Methodist Church, they are beginning an extensive study of the problems of the elderly, and the whole business of compulsive retirement comes in here. I remember sitting in a coffee shop when an elderly person came in and someone was inquiring after him. He said, I come here 15 times a day to drink coffee because I can't think of anything else to do. Now, that man has interests, he has skills and talents, he has something to offer, as you indicate, and many studies will back you up on this, that a child needs the presence of older persons in order to develop a sense of the ongoing generations, a sense of security within a continuing pattern of the human quest. He needs this. It's a tie to stability. He needs to hear an older person reminisce about his childhood.
Yeah. Well, now, in a way, then, we have a real hope that people in the Christian church will arrive at this commitment to listen, this commitment to be sensitive to people of all ages. Let's get back to the worker here, the woman that I felt life never will open to her. Her eyes are shut, her heart is shut. I don't see any hope here of a breakthrough of the kind of thing you're speaking of in her life.
In a real sense, she is an emotional invalid. Would you agree with this evaluation?
You mean by that she's sick, or she's kind of getting over it, or what?
Well, I mean by that there is a wide range of possible human reaction which she has excluded from her
Exactly. I
experience.
think she's chosen to exclude it.
She's chosen to exclude it, and this indicates a deep hurt in her spirit,
Yes.
doesn't it? I mean, we shouldn't take a judgmental attitude. There's a person I believe should relate to these persons.
But nevertheless,
too.
this is the condition she's
This
in.
is the
and she's
condition
going to
she's
continue
in.
to run her world on a business basis.
I'm afraid so, unless something happens. The power of a great love.
Now, Mr. DeVere, maybe, as you said, there's a worse situation, maybe. What did you mean by that? That perhaps he's acquired enough of the professional friend that he'll get by and never discover that he's living the same kind of a life.
This may very well be true. That is, in one sense, his emotional investment in his spiritual status quo is much greater than hers.
Yeah.
That is, he's at the top of the business.
Yeah.
He relates now to the community
And he has an official friendly way.
Yes, he has an
Isn't it?
official.
When the volunteer comes,
He's very good at this.
He's
but
very
this
good.
is emotional dishonesty, isn't it?
and at the very end, I thought he almost had a moment of salvation. The name of Mrs. Wagner, that is the person I've been looking for all these days. And then he lets her walk out the door because he might be late to the board of directors meeting if he went and corrected the problem.
Yes. He's majoring in meetings instead of people. And I have a feeling we should be majoring in people.
I weep for him.
Yes, I do too, really.
Well, gentlemen, doesn't this bring up a possibility...
This discussion isn't finished until you have thought through to your satisfaction the questions that Mr. Emery, Dr. Snyder, and Dr. White have been considering. Perhaps you will want to continue to think and talk about the issues which Talkback is raising. Talkback is a public service program presented by this station and the churches of your community. It was produced in cooperation with the National Council of Churches as a contribution of the Methodist Television Ministry.